Welcome to One-on-One with Jimmy Olsen from the DebtProdigy.com studios. Joining me in this episode is a friend of mine, Duane Goodwin. Duane Goodwin and I have known each other for, I don't know, about 7 years, something
6 to 7 years, yeah. We made it past the 5 years that they always attach to new businesses. If you make it past the 5 years, you got a pretty good chance of remaining in business. Well, we've passed the 5 years, so it's a pretty good chance that we'll remain friends the rest of our life.
Well, once I got past the restraining order and all that, after him looking at me and going, "You just look like a dork."
I had my investigators do a real complete and thorough background check, and they said, Duane, really, dude, just not sure we want to get close to this guy. And I said, "You don't know him like I do." I said, "He's okay." Anyhow, there you go.
Well, how are you doing, sir?
Doing good, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about kind of telling it the way it is. I mean, you hear a lot of people on radio, TV, and they talk about, I got up this morning at 5 a.m., ran 50 miles, and I prayed to Jesus for 15, 30 minutes, and my life is fantastic, and your life can be fantastic too. What they failed to share with us is, how did they get there?
Well, and the other part that they failed to share is, even though that works for them, that doesn't work for everyone.
Well, no, it clearly doesn't.
As we look and compare things, around the world, looking at different education systems and, ones that, how successful they are, how other countries that are not so successful. But, let's so go back from the beginning for you. So one of the really neat things about Duane, born in, I'll say it, my favorite city in the country, Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah, well, you having a disc jockey background, spinning the wax, because you've been around long enough to do that, haven't you?
Oh, yeah.
And so, Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah, that's where I was born, in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well,
yes, sir.
I used to go there every year because I used to be in country radio, so I go down there for country radio seminar, and I honestly will say, of course, we live in Des Moines, here in the Midwest, in Iowa, and it was, even though it was a bigger city, it was like I never left home.
It's pretty comfortable.
Yeah,
it's real comfortable.
People are just as not. They talk about Iowa nice here. They've got the Southern hospitality.
Absolutely. It's very common down there. But I'm glad that you mentioned that you felt like you were still home going from Iowa to Tennessee, because one of the things that my family noticed was refreshing, because we were told it would be different. When we moved to Iowa back in the early 70s, we were told, "Oh, man, them folks up in the north, they're cold, they're not very friendly," and that type of thing. Nothing could be further from the truth. When we moved up here, people were genuinely open, polite, helpful. I'll give you an example, which will kind of take them from where I come from. Nashville, Tennessee, I was about 6 or 7 years of age. Then we moved to Louisville, Kentucky. Okay, and in Louisville, Kentucky, we moved in on Nanka Road in Valley Station, which is a suburb, so to speak.
Right.
And as soon as we got there and moved in, the next morning, all the neighbors started coming over with a big old pot of baked beans and fried chicken and sliced tomatoes.
Welcome you to the neighborhood, yeah.
Absolutely. We didn't need welcome wagon.
Right.
I'm nothing to put down welcome wagon. That's not what I mean. The welcome wagon isn't anything that it used to be either. But all the neighbors did that. When we moved from Louisville, Kentucky to Iowa in the early 70s, we saw the same thing. We saw very nice people, individuals that were very polite. The food was brought over to us. It was wonderful. And my mama's from Eastern Kentucky, coal miner's daughter, and she was quite frankly flabbergasted. She went, I didn't expect this. But it was that way. And Des Moines has not lost that. I have a friend of mine, Mark Rogers, that owns several restaurants in Des Moines. And Mark and I were talking, it's probably been a couple of years ago when this conversation went down. He said, the neat thing about Des Moines, it's very cosmopolitan. You can go to the theater, you can attend the orchestra, you can watch live groups coming through, well-known groups, okay? Right. And yet, at the same time, you could be walking down the sidewalk and see your neighbor from another neighborhood over, and it's like small town
Right.
Iowa. And that's what makes, I think, Des Moines unique. Our crime rate's relatively low up here. I mean, we have crime, let's face it. I mean, every city has crime.
Exactly.
But you can feel safe in Des Moines. And I could keep going on the positives of Des Moines, but yeah. So Nashville, Tennessee, Louisville, Kentucky to Des Moines, Iowa. Have been in Des Moines, as I said, since the early 70s. Other than in my second marriage, my wife Belinda is from actually Spring, Texas, which is a little north of Houston. Okay. It's a suburb, and we decided, you know what, a different view, a change of venue, so to speak, would be good for me. Okay, coming out of a divorce, obviously, before that. And then the second thing is Belinda could go back and spend some time with her family because she'd been up in Iowa for several years also. So we went back down there. We spent 5 years in Houston. I enjoyed it. I did. It's a big city. What is it? Houston's the third or fourth largest city in the United States.
Right, yeah.
I had to get used to commute times. Our house was like 15 minutes from my office normally.
Which would be what, like 2 hours?
Hour and a half. Yeah, hour and a half. And so, you had to get, so I used to kid with folks, go, man, how can you do that? I said, no, it's just one good cigar drive away, So, I'd fire one up in the morning, I'd fire one up in the evening and and just drive. And I have to tell you, here's an interesting thing. And I'll put it in perspective in just a minute, but that drive was actually, you would think it would be nerve-wracking in traffic and all. It actually was pretty relaxing, both sides. I'd leave a little later in the morning to miss a portion of the traffic, and I'd work a little later in the evening to miss that traffic. Now, when we came back to Iowa, we bought a pretty 3-story Victorian in Grinnell.
Okay.
So from our office in Johnston to Grinnell was about a 58, 59. It's just call it an hour drive. Mm-hmm. I about died because that hour drive had no real traffic to negotiate.
Right.
Was boring as heck.
Oh yeah,
I just I was falling asleep, which is not safe, obviously.
Right.
And we finally said, you know what, let's sell this thing. We'll buy something. So quickly we found a home in Windsor Heights, and we've been there ever since.
Well, and that's one of the things when it comes to the show here, the people that I come in and talk to, and it's about you've been through a few things. I mean, pretty successful. I mean, you've done well for yourself.
Yeah, I would say we've done well. I mean, yeah, ups and downs.
But I mean, and that would be the thing is that there's always times that something could go well, and then it's time for a next chapter, and then you have to reinvent yourself. You have to do something a little different. Maybe you did do something. You had a business going well, and then all of a sudden it failed on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, and maybe it could have been something out of your control. It might not have been bad business decisions, poor money management. But it's something that you had to, rethink how you were doing, and then how do I rebrand myself to reinvent myself to then keep going up. And we hear about it all the time when you look at Tony Robbins, when you talk to John Mack, all these motivational speakers, Robert Kiyosaki, of how people need to constantly do that to keep moving yourself up. I saw a post the other day that said, people that are afraid to fail will not succeed because failure is one of the biggest traits of a successful person. In fact, they're going to probably fail more than any other. Look at
absolutely.
Babe Ruth.
I was about ready to use that, and it's most of you folks out there are probably too young to even know who Babe Ruth is. So Google him. Okay, Babe Ruth was the home run king.
Right,
home run king. He would blast them out of the park.
Right.
Okay. Now the key is he was also the strikeout king.
Right.
And when asked at one time, why are you the best hitter, the home run king? He said, because I get up to bat more than anybody else. And that goes back to your statement. He didn't stop.
Right.
Man, I got struck out 10 times in a row. Yeah. Okay.
Well, it was one of those things when he connected.
Oh, there was no question.
There was no, bunt or pop. When he hit it, it was gone. 30
cheeseburgers later, goes out to the plate and knocks it out of the park. Yeah, that's it. But unless you have, look, not everybody, Now, this is going to be really against what some motivational speakers would say. Look, I believe everybody has the ability to win.
Absolutely.
I believe everybody has the ability to win, but not everybody has the ability to win in the same way. In this world, we really have two types of people, and maybe leaning to personality. You've got folks that like to put things together, work processors. Somebody that's on an assembly line. Okay, somebody that puts that widget in that box and then wraps it up, and that's what they do all day. Those are what I call work processors, and they can be successful work processors. They can do very well as work processors, but that's their thing. Then you have the other side, the type of personality is what I call work creators. Now, work creators are probably folks like salespeople, entrepreneurs. Okay, right. We'll use that word to cover them all.
They're creative. They're always coming up with that new idea.
Absolutely. And the ones that ultimately succeed at whatever level they allow themselves, and notice I say allow themselves to succeed, are the ones that are not stopped in that progression. They get kicked, get knocked down, they stand up, dust themselves off, and move forward. And there are example after example after example. Old example, J.C. Penney's. How many times did he file for bankruptcy and look what he built? Okay.
Thomas Edison. The light bulb. He failed, what was it? I can't.
Thousands of times. Was it
999?
No, it was over it was over 1,000.
15.
Regardless, it was a bunch. And he was asked. Do you remember this? He was asked. How do you handle that? You failed 1,000 times. How do you feel about that? He said, I just found 1,000 ways that it didn't work.
Right.
And then he found the way that it did work. I found 1,000 ways how it didn't work. You're exactly right. We can go in Iowa here and find success stories. I don't want to mention any names, but you can find success stories up in Ankeny. The individuals that fell on their face. Let me cover something on that.
Sure.
Here's the problem with those two groups of people. Generally speaking, those work processors look at those work creators, and when those work creators fail, the work processors or flat out lazy people, let's say they don't even make it to the work processor level, are critical of that man or woman that failed. Look at them. They filed for bankruptcy. Or look at them. They lost everything. Look at them. And they do that because they don't have the capacity to suck it up and take those risks that you were talking about earlier. They don't have that capacity. But those that have fallen on their face, if they don't allow that to rule their future, then you'll see them reinvent themselves, as you said earlier, in some way. Maybe it's another business. Maybe it's a different way to get into the business. J.C. Penney, again, prime example, store, finally got the formula right. Look, if I went to bake a cake today, I guarantee you I would have to make 10 cakes before I'd get it right.
Right.
Now, I could stop after the first failure and go, I just can't bake. Or I could stop after the second, I can't bake. I might have to go through 10 times going, I can bake that cake. That's the attitude that a winner has, that no matter where they're at in life, they're able to suck it up and go, I'm not going to be denied my success.
Well, it's also being a leader in their job, their department, whatever it is. I mean, I would almost step out to say that there is a third person, a third one out there too. I mean, we all know that when you talk to scientists, with this research, that no brain is the same. Each brain is different. So each person is different. That's why we all have our own individual personalities.
Right.
But you're right. You have the worker. You have those who are creative. Now, I think there is a third person out there. There are people that, maybe they're not the best worker. Maybe they're not the most creative. But they are a person who can see good in others. They can see success in somebody. So it would be, a lot of times you see a lot of CEOs. Sometimes you talk to that CEO, they might not be the best person. You're looking at them going, well, you're not really a great candidate for this job. How are you? Well, it's because they knew who to bring in. they were able to find those that were creative. They were able to find those that were able to work.
You're absolutely right.
So
yes. I agree.
Now, even though you have the creative people, you have the worker people, or they can be leaders. They can be leaders in their position. They can be leaders with what they do, be the best because they're trying to be the best to keep growing themselves to be that better person. But sometimes you have that one that no matter what they try, again, they fail and fail and fail and fail, and then sometimes that light bulb comes up and realizes, well, you know what? Maybe I'm not really good at this. Oh, but along the way, I met Duane. Mm-hmm. Along the way, I met, Jimmy. On the way, I met so-and-so. You know what? Duane, he is really good at marketing. He's great at sales. Mm-hmm. Jimmy, he can run his mouth or whatever it is. But if we put these two guys together,
right,
I could do this.
Well, I think they call that a team.
Right, and then you create that collaboration.
It's a team. And please don't misunderstand me when I'm talking about work creators, work processors. Those work creators are not an island unto themselves.
No.
What they have to do is surround themselves. Look, a good leader, let me just take two steps. A good leader must first be a good follower.
Absolutely.
Must understand what it means to follow in somebody, have another leader mentor them. The second thing is that once they understand that, they will have learned and noticed that leader surrounds himself or herself a lot of times with folks that are a lot sharper than they are. Mm-hmm. And a sign of a good leader many times is an individual that's a great communicator. So you can take that brilliant person or persons that are surrounding that leader, they give them the direction, that leader the direction and help and advice. That leader has the ability to articulate and communicate what he's learned from his cabinet, his board of directors, whatever you want to call it, and then gets that out there. And that's what causes a company to move forward. I have analyzed a lot of companies. And I've analyzed them to learn, okay? Not pick it apart, yet at the same time you do pick it apart, but to learn. And I can remember a company that started back in the mid to late 70s, a company called A.L. Williams, started by a guy by the name of Art Williams. And Art was just a football coach in Georgia and started this company, started selling life insurance part-time, had a concept. We don't need to get into that. But anyway, within about 3 years, something happened that he didn't even expect. It exploded, okay? And he started building a company that made a difference in the United States. And at the end of the day, he had surrounded himself with really good key people, one of which was Bo Adams, who's since passed away. And that company took off and became the largest purveyor of life insurance in the world. Mm-hmm. In the world. Now, was Art all that smart? Look, Art's smart, okay? But Art understood, he being a head football coach, I know it's just high school, mm-hmm. but he also had his defensive line coach, mm-hmm. and he had his this coach and that coach, and he listened to them, and that's the same thing he did in this company. He listened to Bo Adams, he listened to his other advisors, and he was able to get up in front of thousands of agents and articulate the direction of the company, motivate the team to go out on the field, okay, figuratively speaking, and kick butt, and kick butt, and win.
Right, because leaders produce leaders.
That's exactly right. And leaders were developed. Thousands of leaders were developed by him just doing that.
Right. Which, and again, speaking of that, you've done so many things that have, again, like I said, you've been successful on your own, and as we're moving forward, and again, that's the point of having this and talking to people, of really saying, no matter where you are in life, there's always that next step. There's always that strive to be better. And no matter how good you are, you can still be better than where you are now. I mean, I even know that for me, being in radio for a quarter of a century, mm-hmm. no matter what, I can still do better.
Oh, absolutely.
No matter what, I still have the mentors or people that I can listen to and go, you know what, that was good. That's what I wish
you
I
can
could
pick
be.
up. Exactly. You pick up. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, before we kind of, run out of time with this, I mean, I do want to give you a little bit of a soapbox on your own.
Oh my!
Well, I mean, so everything that you've done, and as you're starting to move your way, you've created a business with your family, so you're kind of creating your own. The word escapes me, but
I hope you're not going to use legacy or something like that. But,
well, I mean, but legacy for the family. I mean, it's not one for the world to see per se, but it's a legacy for the family of okay, we've created this company. I mean, which is why you've used the name Lineage Partner.
That's correct,
because it's your lineage, it's family.
That's correct.
You've got them; they're part of this, and when you retire or go, whatever it is that happens,
right.
They still have this to continue to support them. And I know you've kind of created the company, and you've you started with one with you doing some life insurance sales, but now you're kind of like taking that next step because you've noticed a lot of times as we've all followed along over the years of us not really understanding debt or getting out of debt or being able to really plan for retirement because we just keep spending because that is the world that we live in. I mean, you can remember back in the 70s when you could deduct your credit card interest. I mean, if there was interest, you were able to deduct that on
I
your
was a tax
taxes.
cheat in the 70s, yeah.
But then they took that away because they said that the debt was getting too high. I mean, you could do your car loan interest, you could do your credit card interest. I mean, all we have left now is your home loan interest,
right.
Which who knows how much longer that's going to last, but it is what it is. But so now your next step is creating the debt prodigy.
Yeah, the short story here is let me just start. Got out of high school when I was 14. Mm-hmm. Wanted to be a missionary.
Okay.
Was going to travel with my uncle who was pastor of the church locally. That was my dream in life. Mm-hmm. Now, here's a key example. Things happen and directions changed. I got married at 18, had my first child when I was like 21. All great, okay? Mm-hmm. But I can tell you, being married at 18, I had varying different jobs. I'll not bore you with that. Decided I wanted to be in the life insurance business. Mm-hmm. So I started out part-time, made a lot of money even in the first year, went full-time the second year, fell flat on my face. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just couldn't seem to put two deals together, and I had a tough time. And so my family suffered, I suffered, we all suffered, but we got through that, mm-hmm. Okay? Then after a few more years progressed, I started to do very, very well, and you're exactly right. In this country, you're in the top 1% of earners if you make $100,000 and above, then you got brackets below the 1%.
Right.
But I got to that point, and it was pretty exciting, and then I took forays into other businesses. I had a food delivery business. Didn't work out, mm-hmm. Okay? I had several other businesses that I tried. Didn't work out. But I never allowed myself, for whatever reason, and it wasn't like I mentally knew this, and I said, Goodwin, you've got to take the next step. No, it's just like naturally inside, I knew I needed to take the next step, find something else, remake myself. So I'd done several things, and as I've been in the insurance industry and forays into other things, TV and radio, mm-hmm. I had my own radio shows. I invested in and funded what was probably, I guess, in Des Moines, the first internet broadcast platform.
Yeah. I think, which is how we met.
That's how we met.
Yeah.
I'd funded that, broke away from my partner. Again, there you go. Big problem. Had two other partners. One partner got torqued off with the other partner. There's not me. And then I had to make a choice. Who do I go with? I made my decision and built another brand new platform. Now, here's the interesting part. And you got to know the good with the bad. I closed ours. Mm-hmm. I said, I'm not going to put any more money in this son of a gun. The other guy, the other partner, mm-hmm. up and running,
right.
Still going. Supposedly, I don't look at his books. Stories are what stories are. But at the same time, he's still up and running. Now, what's that say about me? Well, you ain't too smart. You couldn't make that work. But
I wouldn't say that.
But that's what somebody might say. See, look, he failed. Look, he didn't make it.
Well,
that's my point.
And we were part of, and I was part of that one with you too.
Sure.
When you did break off, and I think that goes to show sometimes it's not always the person. Sometimes it's those that are around you that might. I'll just say it. They sell you a bill of goods.
Well, and yes.
I know it. This is what we can do, and this is how it's going to work.
Yep.
And then, I mean, if you're a person who really doesn't know what that is, but you want to do it, you're going, okay, well, I'm going to trust you.
Well, I'd like to give a life lesson for folks that are listening to this. Number one, this is when you let emotions, if you let emotions control you,
right,
you can screw up. I was torqued. I could use other words, but I mean, I was upset with this person. I said, I'll show you in my little head. I'll show you. I'll beat your butt. Built a facility 3 times as big as this one partner had. And my driving force was I was going to get even with him. I'm going to prove to him that he couldn't do this, but I could. Guess what? I let the wrong reasons drive me rather than what the real reasons should have been, helping these other folks that were coming into the studios, doing their own shows and that type of thing, and giving the average American consumer in Des Moines a voice. See, at the end of the day, that's what we were doing, whether it was religious talk, spiritual talk, whether it was music, whether it was just getting on the thing and having fun with comedy type acts.
Right.
What it was, it gave people a voice that they didn't have before. See, I was taught years ago and still believe this, everybody wants to be somebody. Everybody wants to be special. You didn't get up this morning, Jimmy, and go, Dadgum, I just want to have a crappy day. I just want to fail. You didn't do that. You got up optimistic. And 99 and 9/10% of the people get up optimistic, and they want people to hear them. Okay? It's kind of like the old saying, when you're in a conversation, stop talking about yourself and listen to the other person. See, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth to listen twice as much as you talk. Okay. Right. And so as I kept moving forward, the insurance business, I semi-retired in 2007. I'm 58 years of age this month, so you can do the math. Okay. About 3.5 years ago, one of my son-in-laws came to me and said, look, we need to start our own company. Here's the first thing that was out of my mouth. Are you kidding me? Here's the second thing out of my mouth. Do you really know how freaking hard this is?
And probably the third one was, and what's it going to cost me?
Yeah, well, I didn't know. I didn't quite do that. But here's the thing. And it has been a struggle to build this business, Lineage Partners. But here's the way that I look at things. It truly is a learning experience. Okay? We are learning. And so now we have moved in and we're building a software program called Debt Prodigy. In the United States today, 7 out of 10 families are virtually 2 or 3 paychecks away from financial disaster. In this country today, you will spend more time planning your 1 week or 2 week vacation than you do paying attention to your financial situation or looking down the road and saying, where will I be at retirement? More time is spent doing that, a vacation, okay, than planning for one's future. And there are a lot of companies out there and spokespeople that say, we're going to show you how to get out of debt. We're going to show you how to manage your finances. But there's no real solid, robust tool that really teaches financial empowerment at their fingertips.
Well, something that I know we've talked about before is a lot of times you have these companies or that do this, but they might get you out of debt. They might help you. But then when you're out, then they're
that's a great
gone.
No, that's a great point. And there's one in particular. We won't mention names, but yeah.
But there's more than one. I mean, there are companies that have franchises nationwide that do things like this.
Right.
And then because I have friends that have gone through it, and once you're done, okay, you're done.
Yeah.
And, well, number one, did they learn anything? Or number two, or they just fall right back into their credit card debt or whatever it is?
It's a vicious circle, Jimmy. It's a vicious circle.
And again, we've talked about things and we've shared ideas and all kinds of things over the years. I mean, the one thing that you and I haven't done probably is actually partner up ourselves to do something. And, who knows? We've had some ideas that probably could have done something.
Probably could have.
But I mean, what I see with our conversations that we've had with Debt Prodigy is it becomes a financial coach. I mean, you've heard about spiritual coaches.
Right.
You've heard about life coaches. So now it's that financial coach. It's not just, showing you how to get out of debt and helping you get out of debt. But I mean, hopefully, if you're paying attention, that it's going to train you. But then when you're out of debt, the tools, the information, it's still there. You're not leaving.
No. Hey, let me interject something, Jimmy. There's several concepts that are pushed out to the consumer across the United States, actually around the world. First of all, you're right. There's groups out there saying, get out of debt. We'll show you how to get out. And their system works. Okay. There's no question. You may have 30 years of debt and they can show you how to be out of debt in 15 years. You're absolutely right. But that's where it stops with them.
Right.
The vicious circle starts again. Let's say you're 40 years of age, you're out of debt by 50. You're still going to need another car. The TV might break. And then you just commit yourself to that vicious circle again by getting in debt. We at with the Debt Prodigy program are coupling two concepts. Concept number one, the quickest and fastest way possible to get out of debt without affecting your take-home pay. And I think that's a key point here. It's designed where you can get out of debt in the quickest possible time without affecting your take-home pay. Folks, what I mean by that is you don't have to spend more money. Okay, There's a way to do that. Point number two, we couple that with what a gentleman by the name of Nelson Nash started years and years ago. Nelson is probably in his 80s, early 90s. Awesome guy. He developed a concept called bank on yourself.
Which really birthed out of, a whole life insurance policy.
Well, yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
I know a lot of people that do that.
Right.
I mean, if you thought about it at a young enough age, and you pulled out you're 18 or your parents maybe even before you, they thought about it and pulled out did $100,000 life insurance policy on you, which of course you're thinking, holy cow, that's a lot of money. Well, if you're 1 or 2 years old, that the premium on that's not going to be as much as if you're 25, 35, 45.
That's correct.
And then that small premium stays with you, throughout your life.
Right.
But then again, it's that banking on yourself where you're using that to be your own bank, paying it back to yourself.
Right.
And then, then it creates a bigger pie, we'll say, for your life insurance.
Well, let me say, and Jimmy, I don't mean to correct you.
No, right.
But it's okay.
Right.
So on the bank on yourself concept, life insurance is incidental.
Right.
And what I mean by incidental is it just happens to be the most tax leveraged, tax beneficial vehicle to carry money that you can do. In life insurance, you can take money out of it tax free. Okay, you can fund it and do that. So with the getting out of debt and banking on yourself, as you're getting out of debt, we can simultaneously with a coach, which you'll have a button on there, hey, I need a coach. And one of our folks across the United States the first one that our closest one will connect, and then that coach will teach them how to create their own bank. Okay, so as they're getting out of debt, they will simultaneously, if they want to use the bank on yourself concept in conjunction with that, will be building up a bank of cash, so that at the end of 7 years, 9 years, 12 years, 15 years, not only are they out of debt, but now they have a bank of cash in that policy, which is very tax advantaged. So now their cars are paid off, everything else, so they go, dadgum, I got to buy a brand new car. I need $25,000. They need to go to the bank. Now, typically speaking, that's going to one of the banks and a banker and going, checking your credit,
right.
Seeing if they like you. I mean, they're looking down their bony nose with their glasses on the end of it, looking you up and down and judging you while you're sitting at the other side of that desk, which sucks, pardon my language, but you hate that. Mm-hmm. Well, what we have done is created a bank that they don't even have to leave their living room.
Right.
That bank is that policy that carries that money that we built up over 7, 9, 10, 12, 15 years, and they go to the banker, which is themselves. So a little mirror up in front of you and go, banker, I need $25,000. Banker says, sure, Jimmy, here's the form. Mm-hmm. And so then you borrow out of your policy or your bank,
right,
and you buy that car. And who do you pay for that privilege? Who loans you the money? Your bank. So guess what? You take the normal car payment that you would have had to have made, and you do what? Put it back into your bank. Pay yourself. See, what we're doing is so vital in this country. It's vital around the world, but vital in this country is getting the cart behind the horse.
Right, and I was using
getting out of debt first,
and I was using the life insurance as those that understand that have used it as the example because I mean what you're doing is we'll say that whatever your debt is, it's going to you're paying out $500 a month.
Right. So
now you're going to be out of debt in 5, 7, 10 years, paying that $500 a month. But as you are paying things off, that money that's coming out will never change. It'll always be that $500.
Right.
But as you're getting out of debt, as you get that credit card paid off, well, maybe $50 is going to that credit card. Well, now that $50,
that's exactly right.
Goes
Jim.
into the savings account.
That's your bank. Put it in your bank.
Right.
Build up your bank.
Right. Goes in your policy. You're saying however you're doing that. Then you get that next card paid off. Maybe your car's paid off, and you are still going. Well, I'm still doing okay. So now you can take that car payment for a while and put it in.
Right.
The house payment, whatever that is, and that keeps. So no matter what, you're never changing. You're still spending out that $500 a month. But as things are getting paid off, as you're building this bank for yourself,
right,
you're finding that things aren't as bad as what they were, and you have a little more money in your pocket.
Certainly, that's everything you said is absolutely true. Let's add the third component, which ties back into what you say. The third component is taking care of yourself and your family in retirement. Mm-hmm. See, once you have this in place and you get to 55, 60, 65, not only will you have your own bank if you need to purchase something, but you'll also have a bank of cash that you can start taking a monthly income out on a tax-free basis. I mean, how beautiful is it? I'm not going to go through those numbers to have tax-free income rather than taxable income. We believe very strongly 401ks, IRAs, so on and so those qualified type plans are not the place to put money. Okay, because at the end of the day, when you reach that age that you're going to start taking the money out, dear old Uncle Sam's going to get his money. There's no question. So let me say this. So in other words, what our program is doing is financially empowering a family, the consumer. With this program, we are going to financially empower you and put you in control.
Right.
Keep your eye on the ball so you know where you're going. Okay, you got a clear and effective roadmap to get to from point A to point Z.
Well, and there's something to think about that too, because they call one of our greatest president Ronald Reagan, which
rightfully so.
But yet he's the one because of 401k. Let's break this down. The 401k was a tax shelter for someone making, as you were saying earlier, the six-figure income.
That's what it was designed for, corporate executives.
Exactly. So they were able to put that money in this tax shelter so they wouldn't have to pay taxes on it now, but they would have to pay taxes on it later, which would then help them tax-wise when they did their return at the end of the year. That's what a 401k was. And then you had businesses that had pensions and all that. But in the 80s, during the Reagan administration, all of a sudden they brought in the introduced this 401k, which is a great idea for the average working person. Now, I'm not going to say that it's a bad thing, and because I know people, but again, they've worked at the same company for 30 years.
Well, here's the problem. They didn't do the final math. They just did the math on the deduction.
Right.
They didn't do the math at age 60 or 65 when now they're taking out a larger amount. Here, let me ask you a question, Jimmy. This ties in with what you're saying.
Right.
First of all, do you think taxes are going to over the next 10 to 20 years going to stay the same, go down, or go up?
Well, we know they're going to go up.
Okay, fair enough. So you'll assume that. Now, if you have a 401k that you're putting in X amount of dollars,
right, and
you anticipate even the deposits, you're going to increase your account balance over 20, 30 years, right?
Right.
If you get interest, it's even better. So at the end of the day, you will end up paying larger taxes. I don't care if it even stayed the same. Larger taxes on a larger volume of money. And at age 70 and a half, you're required to start taking money out. So it's going to cost you, not be good for you.
Right. Well, there's two ways. There's a way that it could be, and I've done I've done taxes, which we've had that conversation before. And there's a way that it could be good for you, and there's a way that you could take out your 401k and it doesn't cost you any money. But that amount that you're withdrawing every year to live on, not going to be a lot of money for you to live on. So, because there's this magic formula that the IRS has when you are over 65 to decide on if you pay taxes or not. Well, if you go over that magic number, you have to pay up to 75% of your income in taxes. Again, we'll just throw out numbers. We'll say that it's a $20,000 cap. We'll say that's what it is. So that means if you want, so you've worked 30, 40 years, 401k, it's nice. But if you want to keep it to where you don't have to pay heavily on taxes, you're only able to take out less than $20,000 a year. If you're used to making $50,000, $60,000 a year, wow, that's a pretty big pay cut.
Well, sure.
So,
I mean, that's
to live on the other side where you're going with, if you're wanting to live what you're used to, your $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year, and you're taking that out on your 401k, yeah, you're going to kind of get bit a little bit.
Look, the IRS, the government is going to get their money one way or the other.
Exactly.
Okay, there's a lot of things going on right now. But the bottom line is, as I progressed in life, and as we've been building Lineage Partners, we have noticed ourselves migrating over to the understanding that we need to financially empower the American consumer. If they're given a set of tools, not just a book that says do a graph on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, but I mean absolute tools that they, number one, can utilize for their families. Now, the second thing that we did, Jimmy, which is important, you being a tax guy, is we created Debt Prodigy so that every subscriber can be a distributor. And what I mean by a distributor is if you had a functioning, powerful, financial empowering tool like Debt Prodigy, and you saw yourself getting out of debt in a third of the time, you more than likely would share that with friends and family. I mean, we just do that. We go to a great restaurant, we share that. Now, what we learned, or what I've learned in almost 40 years being in the insurance business, you generally don't pick the phone up and go, dude, I bought this great life insurance policy. You don't talk about that.
No.
But if you pick, you're with your buddies or your gal friends and you're going, man, you're not going to believe this. We, for $15, got this software program that's getting us out of debt in a third of the time. And we punched a little button and got a what they call a coach on the phone. And that coach took us through how we can build up our savings and have a retirement that's 100% tax-free, and also in between those two times, our own bank to buy things that we can cut out the middleman. You need to take a look at this. And so as a subscriber, you can share that with your friends John and Betty. John and Betty set their plan up, $15, right? And they put you down as Jimmy shared this with us. Guess what, Jimmy? You're going to make $6, $7, $8 a month. Because you just shared that. So what we've done, that's the next thing. We've helped create a little side business that doesn't cost you any more than what a normal subscriber would have anyway. Okay, there's not this big fee to get in. And you can share that. Now what you've just opened up, accounting guru Jimmy, is now you're a 1099 person because you're making money. You're not just W-2. So you keep your full-time job, but now you've got a part-time business. Now the exemptions, legal exemptions, not loopholes, not cheat, that are available to you just opened up a whole new world. I mean, you get to deduct a mileage. You get to deduct a portion of your property or your home as an office for your Debt Prodigy program. So now that's the next thing we do. We put you in a position where you can make some extra money that you can put into your retirement, into your own bank.
And that's just by referring people.
That's just by you don't sell nothing. You can't sell anything. So the next thing it does, it gives you more deductions now because now you have your own business. And at the end of the day, you could end up with tens of thousands of people. And you know what? If you don't like your job, you can get your Debt Prodigy business to the level that you don't need to keep your job. You're making equal to or more money at Debt Prodigy every single month. So we've taken a look at all of these areas and said, you know what? We've got the package. We've got the whole package. If you just want to be a subscriber, not refer it to anybody, fine. Use it, be empowered. If you want to be a subscriber and not only just want to get out of debt, but want to create your own bank, punch the button, get a coach. And then as you're going along, you go, hey, that's all I want to do. Well, that's fine. Or you can do get out of debt, get a coach, and then boom, guess what? You can share this with others. Or you can look at this and go, man, my coach really helped me. I want to be a coach. So then you can get a license. It's required because you are dealing with insurance products. You can become a coach yourself, spend a couple of $100 to get your license. And guess what? The next person that you've referred this to that needs a coach and punches that button, who's going to help them? You are. And the program has all of the training built into it. Now, Debt Prodigy has not been launched yet. It is still being built. But it is almost done. We're getting into the beta testing phase. So I don't know who all hears this. I know it's a whole bunch of folks. And folks out there, go to debtprodigy.com. Debtprodigy.com. Click on that and register, okay? Register. And when it asks you who referred you, guess who it's going to be? It's going to be Jimmy Olsen. Get in there, punch that button, and Jimmy Olsen's name will pop up as the person that referred you, okay? And what we will do is we're going to start sending all of you all very soon the software, free access to Debt Prodigy, so that you can get in there, work it, use it, try to bust it. In other words, the beta test. And then we want you to come back. What'd you find out? How did this work? How'd that work? What's your problems? We want to know that. And so after about 30 to 45 days, then you're going to get a notice and go, good, look, you haven't paid for anything. Thank you so much for being a beta tester. Now, this following month, we are going live. And then that's when you pay your $15, not before. So folks, get involved. Let's get tens of thousands. I mean, we've got thousands already that have pre-registered, but let's get tens of thousands of the consumer to do that. And that way they can take financial control or become financially empowered, Jimmy. Absolutely. And this one from getting back to success, failure, success, this one is for at my age, this is the big one. This is the big one. I am passionate, not emotional. I'm passionate about helping the American consumer get out of debt because guess what? Over all those years that we've been talking about, I have been in debt. Oh, buddy, let me tell you what. And it can be debilitating, clearly debilitating. Your health will suffer. Your family will suffer. So we're going to not only heal you financially, okay, we sound like an on-air preacher, right? We're not only going to heal you financially, we're going to heal you physically because guess what? If you're out of debt, your blood pressure is going to go down. That's right. If you're out of debt, your stress level is going to go down. You're going to live a healthier lifestyle at that point. We want to provide that healthy lifestyle for the American consumer. And one last point. Jimmy, you know somebody in Canada, or you know somebody over in London, you know somebody that lives in South America, or wherever. Guess what you can do? Get them involved because we're going to be worldwide within the next 12 months. We're going to open up all the world so that anybody can get involved. It's going to change the language it's in. There's what's so cool in this day and age. One of the most beautiful things about computers and things like that is there's a software package for it.
That's right.
We're going to take it from English to Spanish or Spanish to French or whatever. We're going to do that, and it can convert dollars. $1 here is so many francs. $1 here is so many pesos. $1 here is so on and so forth.
Right.
So we're going to be able to do that, so that the world can take advantage of this. Now, are there other people that are trying to do the same thing? Yeah. It reminds me of 1901, Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Indian was still there. There was over 50 motorcycle manufacturers at the turn of the century, but look where Harley went. It's because they built them bigger, badder, and faster. Okay? That's the key. So that product is going to be bigger, badder, and faster than anything that's out there. I'm staking my life on it.
Right. Well, and I mean, this just goes to show again, when it comes to that motivation, what is it that's going to motivate you? What is it that's going to help you with that focus? That's going to keep you, no matter how many times you fail, no matter what you've done in your life, no matter what your past is. I mean, your past can be whatever it is. I mean, you've gone to jail. You were financially broke because.
So what? By the way, I didn't go to jail, but you're exactly right.
I mean, but are you going to live by what your past mistakes are, or are you going to take what that was and then turn that into a motivation?
Absolutely.
To be a better person, to be better for others, to build up one another. I mean, the thing I love about these things, which with this, which I know the show going a little longer than what it normally would, but I just love talking to you.
I appreciate it.
We just have great conversations.
Yeah, we do actually. Yeah, we really do.
But it's about enabling others to be better, to be stronger,
right?
Not just financially, but mentally, physically, spiritually. It's all that working together.
Absolutely.
To be healthy.
That's exactly right. I love you talking about your past and your future. I would love to say I coined this phrase, but I'm pretty confident I'm stealing it from somebody. But it's good. He said, "Don't allow your past to rule your future."
Absolutely.
Okay, don't allow, if Paul allowed his past, not to get on the Bible here, but if Paul had allowed his past to rule his future, he would have never done what he did.
Right.
Okay? Wouldn't have built those churches in the New Testament. Had he allowed his past to rule his future. How many individuals? Bo Adams at A.O. Williams had spent time in prison. There was a reason, and it was a financial reason, quite honestly. And the thing with Bo, like him or not like him, because there was both sides of the fence.
There always are.
Is the fact that he did not allow his past to rule his future. Died a multi-millionaire. We can talk about Donald Trump. He's not allowed his past to rule his future. He's not allowed that past to cause him to crawl up in a corner in the fetal position and go, I can't make it. Okay? Entrepreneurs, people that want to start businesses, have great ideas, are warriors. They're not afraid to stand up. They're warriors.
Look at Tony Robbins, who was homeless.
Absolutely. Fat, homeless. All, yeah.
Yeah, before he started his business with, motivating others.
That's right.
Not really sure about Warren Buffett's past, but you've got so many successful men out there. You've got, Bill Gates.
Sure.
With PCs.
Sure.
You've got
Apple computer,
Apple, which
out of a garage. Yeah.
With a bunch of buddies that got together and they did.
As much as I hate to say it, Facebook. This kid did not have any intentions of this Facebook becoming what it did. It was a hookup site, for crying out loud.
For college campuses.
Absolutely.
Share with your college.
Absolutely. And look what happened. All of those things have filled a need. They all have issues,
or at least told you had a need that it needs to fill.
Again, Facebook gives you a voice.
It does.
And when we were doing our internet platform, we were kind of pre-Facebook, and giving a voice to folks in the community. Facebook gives you a voice. And if you don't want to listen to their voice, you unfriend their ass, okay?
Or hide them anymore.
Or hide them anymore. Yeah, you got the hide provision, which I got to tell you, I've hit a few folks. But, but it's giving folks a voice. It's empowering them to say, this is what I believe.
Right.
This is how I feel. You may not like it, Jimmy, but guess what? This is a still free country. This is what I believe. The same becomes true with Debt Prodigy. We want them to become financially empowered to control their life and let that voice be heard.
Right.
That might not be on a radio show, might not be on Facebook, but boy, they're financially empowered.
Absolutely.
That's the key.
Duane, thank you very much. I know you're a busy guy. I mean, your phone's been like going crazy since we've been in here. I'm sure you got a lot of things to get back to, some clients to chat to. But again, thank you for coming in and just kind of hanging out with me for a little
thanks.
bit.
Love it, Jimmy. Do it anytime. You're a great friend. I hope a lot of folks heard this. A little more plug for Debt Prodigy, debtprodigy.com. Who referred you? Jimmy Olson. Debtprodigy.com. Jimmy Olson. And get on that list so that you can be a beta tester.
Duane, thank you very much, sir, and we will chat soon. You're listening to One on One with Jimmy Olson.